Sometimes I decide not to leave my room and watch a movie. These movies are pretty detailed, and I always wish they were real in real life. They even have ending credits. They usually cost one dream to watch a movie through from start to finish. Once it's over, I wake up. There were a bunch of different movies that I watched, and they were all what you would expect from a movie. But there was one time the movie took place in Crescent Lane. Crescent Lane in the movie took place in the physical world. It starts out with a Muslim family moving to Crescent Lane after some hardships. Their grandmother just died, and because of taxes, they lost their home. Their grandmother owned everything. They did not have everything paid off, so they only got enough to get the apartment. There was a mom, a dad, and a little girl. The landlord ended up being the old ghost that I seen in Crescent Lane before. "Crescent Lane is a weird place," said the landlord to the family. "If you ever experience anything weird, come to me and I'll help you solve it." The family brushed it off, and the little girl went to wander the halls. She went to skip through the halls humming the tune that her grandmother used to sing to her. She ended up finding a small wooden door just big enough for her to climb inside. She climbs through a wooden small space and ends up in a small room. There was a single small table with a book on it. The book was glowing. She went and picked it up, and when she did, she could hear her grandmother's voice. "Mom, Mom, look at this book. I can hear Grandma from it," said the little girl. The mom had a sad look in her eye. "That's nice, dear," she said. She continued cleaning the dishes. "Dad," called the little girl, "I can hear Grandma from this book." The dad just nodded and continued watching his show. For about a week it looked like she was just sitting around reading the book, but she was having conversations from what she thought was her grandmother. She would go back to the back of the apartment complex and go through the forest, where she knew where the swing was. She would swing on it while talking to her grandmother through the book. One night, though, she was in her bedroom. "I miss you, honey. You should come over here and spend some time with me," said grandmother's voice. "How can I do that?" the little girl asked. "All I need is your permission, and you can come to my side," said the grandmother's voice. "Okay, let's do it," said the little girl. A flash happened and she was gone. A few hours later, her parents came looking for her. They searched everywhere, in her bedroom, at the swing, and even through the halls. Eventually they become panicked, and the mom's sitting in the little girl's room crying. She then begins to hear the humming. It was faint, but it sounded like her daughter singing the grandmother's tune. She looked over at the book her daughter was always carrying around and noticed it was glowing. She picked it up and opened it. She could hear the humming louder. She went and showed her husband the book. "Honey, look at this," she said. The husband then takes the book and hears the humming too. Then he drops it. "That sounds like your mother's tune," he said. "And it sounds like our daughter singing it," she said. "What do we do? What's going on?" he asked. She sat there and thought for a second. "The landlord. He said weird stuff happens here. Maybe this is what he means. Let's ask him," she said. They then went to go find the landlord, and they showed him the book. "Oh, I remember this one. This is an old one," the landlord said. "This book leads to the spirit realm. It's a dark place. It's kind of like the opposite of here." Here is a side note that isn't a part of this movie. I had this dream years ago before the show Stranger Things came out, but this place was exactly like the Upside Down from Stranger Things. This is the reason why I love Stranger Things so much, is because it reminded me of this dream. So essentially imagining upside down version of Crescent Lane. "Must have gotten drawn in there by something," the landlord said. "Well, how do we get her back?" asked the mother. "Just listen to the sounds that are coming from the book and let them get more intense, and it will draw you in," the landlord said. "But be careful, it's easy to get in, but harder to get back." The mom and dad then opened the book and listened closely to the haunting music of their daughter. It got louder and louder and more intense until a flash happened. They were still in the same room, but the landlord was gone, and it was darker, and it felt wrong. "Well, let's look for her," said the dad. They started to search around this dark place, but the humming was quiet and they couldn't find her anywhere. "Where could she be?" the dad asked. "Well, this place looks like home," said the mom. "Maybe she went to the swing." They then went to the back of the building where they were faced with a dark, creepy forest. The humming got louder and louder as they went deeper into the forest. They then approached the swing, and the daughter was swinging back and forth singing the tune.
The tree that was holding the swing is where it stopped, where everything stopped. There was nothing beyond that but a dark void, and she was swinging right over the edge. They called out to her. "Please come home," they both shouted. "I want to stay here with Grandma," she said. The girl then stopped swinging and pointed out to the void. Her parents looked at where she was pointing, and there was a demon floating and staring at them. "That's not your grandmother," the mom shouted. "I know you miss her, but she's gone. We need to go back to where we belong, and maybe one day we can join Grandma." The little girl then turned around and saw the demon for what it was. She screamed and fell backwards, and her parents rushed to get her. They started trying to run back through the forest to get back to Crescent Lane to find the book and return, but the demon let out a shriek. They became disoriented and they could not find their way. When all seemed lost, they started to hear the humming again. "Grandma?" the little girl asked. The family then followed the humming and found their way back to the book, where they were able to return home. "Oh, welcome back," said the landlord. "I was getting worried." He then closed the book. "I will lock this up in a safe place." He then left. "I think that was my mother," said the mom. They then all hugged each other on the girl's bed. The music grew louder as the ending credits rolled. I especially liked this movie because it took place in a place that I was living, or at least living in the dream. I knew where the swing was. I've been there before. So I left my room, went to the back of the building, through the forest, and into the swing. I got onto it and started swinging and humming the song from the movie. This was the swing that made you swing past galaxies and stars, so I did this until I woke up. When I did wake up, however, I still remembered the song, so I grabbed my phone and I recorded myself humming it into the phone. That is the song that I used throughout these videos. This song is from Crescent Lane.